Hello, happy people. I hope that you are having just one of the best days of your life today. Today, I read a novel, and we're going to take a look at that novel. It's by George MacDonald. It's also in this Penguin Classics collection that I have been taking a look at, and they managed to get a novel that he published in the late 1800s. And it's the second to last story in here for you. And if you take a look, just real quick here, you'll see that it's called The Wise Woman, or The Lost Princess, a double story. It's in Wikipedia as Lost Princess, a double story. It's without the Wise Woman or at the beginning of it. So I'm going to choose The Lost Princess as the title of this story on the title and what I upload it to as YouTube. But it's printed in here as a double story, The Wise Woman or The Lost Princess. This short story, this novel is pretty short. It took me 3 days at an hour a day, and each day I came in at probably about 50 or 45 minutes in the last day to knock it out. And I did about 25 or 26 or 27 pages each day. It's about 80 pages total, and so I did it pretty quickly. So you can easily knock it out in a day. It's not that long. A lot of these old novels are more like modern novellas. So you can easily knock them out in one sitting, which is one of the things I actually enjoy about taking a deep dive into older novels like Michael Moorcock or H.G. Wells. You can easily knock out a lot of novels in the same time that it would take you to just read one. 600-page novel. Well, 600 pages is like 4 novels, a whole trilogy by some people. In the pre-giant novel era of the big giant novels of the Tom Clancy era and stuff like that, right? That we're living in today, where everybody goes into a big, thick, giant tome that can take you easily a month or a month and a half to read. But anyway, we'll skip that by. But it's fun to read a novel that's short. I just finished J.R.R. Tolkien's Roverandom, and I published that for you. This is going to be one of the last ones I do of the George MacDonald stuff, although I just read Roverandom. But I've already published it. So by this time you get to this, by the penultimate short story by George MacDonald, this is going to be a long time from now. But I just read Roverandom. And it's a children's short story, a novel rather, and it's also about 3 hours long to read, a little bit less. It's probably about 2 hours and 45 minutes for 169 pages. And I enjoy these smaller short stories that you can just be engaged in and really be invested in. And then at the end of the day, you can still play some video games or read some more stuff or, hang out with your family, watch sports, right? You can do things, right, in addition to all the things that you're required to do. In time that you would normally spend. So I really enjoy these shorter novels, and I really enjoyed this novel too. I'm going to be giving it an 8 out of 10 to The Lost Princess, to the double story. The basic idea of this short story is that we're growing up in a land which is a little unusual, and you'll get in the first 4 or 5 pages how this world is a little bit different than our world. And it talks about how a lot of children think that they are something with a capital S. And every child in this world thinks that they're something, which is a problem. And it will talk about how these different children, and there are 2 children that we're going to be met. One is Agnes, who is the daughter of shepherdesses and has been poor, and she thought she grew up thinking that she was somebody, and she was spoiled by her parents in one particular way. And then on the same day that she was born, we'll also meet this princess. And this princess has been spoiled by her parents in a very different way, but they've both been spoiled, and they're both just not nice people. One is self-conceited, and the other one's angry all the time, and taking it out on other people, and very mean and spiteful. But the other's really self-conceited. So they've both been spoiled by different levels of parenting. And when I was reading this in the short novel, I was like, this actually seems like a very sort of normal parenting information that I think people have today. But I can't imagine at the time that this would have been, these parenting ideas, ways to ruin your child, these sorts of things would have been sort of the day of that time stuff. And when I looked it up in the Wikipedia story, again, it said that actually this is notable from somebody put it in there, and they noted the same thing too, that the methodology of how these parents have ruined their children, and that the children aren't their fault, it's their parents' fault, and they have just as much blame as their children, if not more. I enjoyed that idea. It resonated with me, and the idea of that, the parents bear some of this blame. I like that. It's sort of this modern idea. If you don't raise your parents right, if you're always giving them what they want. In the case of Rosamund the princess, and never denying her anything in the early, like in the first page or two of her, you'll find out that she asked for the moon, and they gave her a round stone and told her it was the moon. And then when she finds out that they lied to her, she really gets annoyed and starts to act out really badly. And so they will give her things that it's not in her power to give. And she grows up as a princess. They're kings and queens, so obviously they have a lot of money to give her a lot of spoiled stuff. But anyway, so what's going to wind up happening is that our third character is this wise woman, and she's been called in early on in the princess saga to create a sort of intervention, if you will, on behalf of the parents who are tired of their daughter's misdeeds and mischaracterization and bad attitudes, misbehavior. She's not acting appropriately, right? She's not, good. And so they bring in this wise woman in order to help her and to intercede on her behalf, in order to bring her around. And so what she does is the next day she leaves. They dismiss her, and the princess disappears. And the princess has been taken by the wise woman, and the wise woman is taking her, and ultimately they'll wind up at her home. And the idea is that she's going to try to raise her correctly in order to change how she is. So this is our core key idea. It's about 10-15 pages into an 80-page novella novel. And so that I'll leave you there, but that's the basic core ideas of this wise woman and these two spoiled children sort of to get involved in their lives and try to help out them. And you can't help out these students when they're living, these kids when they're living in a bad environment by leaving them in that bad environment, right? So she has to abduct the child in order to save her. And so that's the key idea, if you will, and that's why the princess is lost, which we'll find out very early on. And everybody's searching for the princess while the wise woman has and is treating her benevolently. Anyway, so that's the core idea. And again, it really resonates with me. I think that George MacDonald is doing a good job writing it. I think that some of the comments here are good and well done. The descriptions of what's happening and everything's really good. It's well paced. There's not like 5 or 6 pages of description, except for the first 4 or 5 pages, which are mostly a description of this nation and how it's different from our own. This is a fantasy story. There's magic in it. The wise woman is clearly a wizardess. This is a fantasy story, and in that genre, comfortable. Just like many of the things that George MacDonald wrote. He was heavily influential in the fantasy genre. People like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis both, went to the mattresses for how good, George MacDonald was and how influential he was in their fantasy. So, if you want to find out this sort of pre-Tolkienian fantasy, what it was like, George MacDonald is a good place. I'll link you to this. I'll try to find you actually a couple of things. I'll try to link you to this collection online on Amazon. I'll also try to see if it's for free. Things that were published in the 1800s obviously are past their sell-by date. So I'll see if I can find the novel for you so you can just read it yourself without spending any money if that's how you prefer. No judgment here. And then that's it. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read this novel? What did you think of it? Did you agree or disagree with my take in any way, shape, or form? I would be more than happy to engage with it further, whatever your views on the novel is or how you feel about my take on it. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be a lot more of these to follow in fantasy like this one, science fiction, and horror. And then finally, hey, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have a great day.